Hello, students, and today for our lesson, we're going to start multiplying fractions. It's a little bit new. So let's look at what we're going to do today. If you're due now, I want you to respond thoughtfully to a question we have about interest. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting question for us to ponder. Our objective is to multiply fractions, as I mentioned. Our essential questions will be, we have two today, how can I accurately multiply fractions? And what steps should I take to multiply fractions? We'll have three distinct steps. Our assignment will be to watch the video and complete our pages, and our exit ticket will ask us to fill in these three blanks. Blank, simplify if possible. These are the three steps for multiplying fractions. Blank, straight across, and blank again if necessary. So please finish up for homework anything you didn't get finished in class. And remember to check the assignments tab on Wednesdays for your midweek assignment, which counts for a grade and for attendance. So we have a beautiful fall harvest picture for today to remind us to be thankful that we are better at math than we were yesterday and that tomorrow will be even better than today. Always something to be thankful for. Our do now question is about interests. And is there anything that you used to enjoy but now find to be tedious or boring? Maybe there's something you used to love to do, but it just doesn't hold your interest anymore. And that is a sign that you are growing and changing. And this will be our exit ticket. We'll get back to that after we finish our lesson on multiplying fractions. So we've got three distinct steps. We've got to cross simplify, if possible. I'll show you what that is. We will multiply straight across and then simplify again if necessary. For example, we have 4/6 times 3/10. Well, 4 is divisible by 2, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 is divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 3 is divisible by itself. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 is also divisible by itself. 6 divided by 3 is 2. That gives us 2/2, which we see right here, times 1/5, or 1/5. Now we multiply straight across. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 5 is 10. And again, we can reduce this fraction by simplifying it. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So the final answer for this problem is 1/5. So it'll take a little bit of practice, but I know that you'll get it. So here we have 5/8 times 1/10. So I can see that the 1 and the 8, there's no cross simplification I can do. But 10 is divisible by 5, and 5 is also divisible by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 8 times 2 is 16. And that is our fully simplified answer. Now, if you didn't see that cross simplification, what you would have done is you would have had, let's rewrite it over here, 5/8 times 1/10, which would have given you 5 times 40. And 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 40 divided by 5 is 8, excuse me. Oh, that should be 80, sorry. 40 divided by 8 times 10 is 80, and then 80 divided by 5 is 16. Sorry about that. And you would have ended up at the same place. What cross simplification does is it eliminates some of that work at the front end. So you can get these problems. Remember, smaller numbers are better numbers. Okay, number 2. So 5 and 3, there's no simplification. 7 and 2, no simplification. We just multiply across. 5 times 2 is 10. 7 times 3 is 21, and that cannot be simplified any further, so that's a final answer. Number 3, we look at 1 and 4. We cannot simplify anything with a 1 is already as simple as it can be. 3 and 4 cannot be simplified. They do not have a common factor. So I multiply across. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 4 is 16, and that, again, is a final answer. Number 4. Now, 7 and 5 I cannot simplify, but 4 is divisible by 2 and 10 is divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now I've simplified. Smaller numbers are better numbers. 7 times 2, 14. 5 times 5, 25, and that is a final answer. So let's go ahead and let's do the rest of the page. In fact, why don't you try 5, 6, 7, and 8 yourself, and then you can check. Okay, so I hope you saw that 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. Whenever you have the same number in one numerator and the other denominator, you can simplify those to 1, which makes our job really easy. 1 times 2 is 2, 5 times 1 is 5, and that's our final answer. Now we have 6 and 12, and 6 is indeed a factor of 12. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Again, we've just made our work a lot easier. 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 2 is 14. And remember, now that we're in 8th grade, this is how we represent multiplication with that dot. Okay, we have a 1 over here and a 12 here. We cannot simplify that. We've already got a 1 in the numerator on the right side fraction. But this 3 and 6, well, 3 is a factor of 6. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 12 times 2 is 24. And 1/24 is fully simplified final answer. Now, we cannot simplify 1 and 9, but 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 9 times 1 is 9, and that is a final answer. Let's go on to some extra practice. So why don't you try the first 4 and then come back and see how you did. So what I see here is a 3 and a 6. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now I see a 2 and a 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now I multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. I cannot simplify that any further. That's a final answer. Number 2, whenever I have the same number, they cross simplify to 1, and anything with a 1 cannot be simplified further. So now I go on to step 2, multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4. I cannot simplify any further, so no need to do step 3. So 1 and the 6 cannot be simplified, and 5 and 6 have no common factors. So I'll immediately multiply across. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 times 6 is 36. And I cannot simplify that any further. So that's our final answer. For number 4, I cannot simplify. We're looking at 2 and 9, no common factors. And then we're looking at 1 and 12, no common factors. So I multiply across. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 12 is 24. And both of those are divisible by 3. So I divide the numerator and denominator by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And that's a final answer. So why don't you go ahead and do 5, 6, and 7 and then come back. Okay, when I look at the 2 and the 12, I see that they are both divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. The 5 and 11 cannot be simplified any further. 1 times 11 is 11. 6 times 5 is 30. And that is a final answer. The 1 and the 15 cannot be simplified. The 5 and the 6 cannot be simplified. So I will multiply straight across, which will give me 1 times 6 is 6. 5 times 15 is 75. Both 6 and 75 are divisible by 3. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. 75 divided by 3 equals 25. And that is our final answer. And again, there's no cross simplification that we can do with number 7. So we will multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. And that is a final answer. Let's go back up. 8, 9, 10, and 11. Why don't you try those and then we'll do them together. So pause the video. Okay, we cannot cross simplify anything with a 1 in the numerator, so we'll go ahead to step 2. Multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. We cannot cross simplify the 7 and the 5, nor can we cross simplify the 8 and the 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 5 is 40, and that is a fully simplified answer because there are no factors of 21 and 40 that they have in common. There's no simplification between the 1 and the 10 and the 5 and the 6, so we'll go to step 2, which is to multiply across. 1 times 6 is 6. 5 times 10 is 50, and both these numbers are divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 50 divided by 2 is 25. And in the next problem, number 11, there's no simplification we can do. So we're going to multiply across. 2 times 2 is 4. 9 times 5 is 45. And as large as that 45 is, we cannot reduce it. So go ahead and try 12, 13, and 14 on your own. Okay, let's see how you did. Did you see that you can cross simplify the 5 and the 10? 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 10 is 2. Now step 2, we multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 2 is 14. And that is our final answer. In number 13, the 8 and the 3 cannot be cross-simplified, but the 2 and the 10 can, because 10 is a factor of 2. So 2 divided by itself is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now we go to step 2 and multiply across. 8 times 1 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15, and that's a final answer. And in number 14, the 1 and the 10 cannot be simplified, neither can the 7 and the 8. So we'll multiply across. 1 times 7 is 7, 8 times 10 is 80, and that is a final answer that cannot be simplified. So let's move on to some error analysis and see if we can figure out what mistakes were made in the following problems. So I look at the first problem. I see that 2 times 3 is 6. That seems okay. 6 times 6, look what they did not do. They did not multiply the denominators. So what that should be is 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36, and we can reduce that to 1/6. Then let's go on to number 2. And we have 4 times 3, and they did simplify. The 3 is 1, the 9 is 3. So 4 times 1, it looks like they multiplied the numerator by the denominator. So this should be a 1. So this should be a 1. So if we had 4 over 3 times 1 over 5, we would have 4/15. So let's go on to number 3. And we have 2/3 times 1/3. And there was no simplification, so 2 times 1 is, nope, this should be a 2. So this should be a 2, 3 times 3. I see another mistake. This should be a 9. So 2 over 9, and 2 over 9 would be a final answer. And let's look at number 4. 7/10 times 5/7. Well, we can simplify those. So they did that right. So now 1 times 5, this should be a 5. And 10 times 1 should be a 10. So they switched the numerator and the denominator. And that they should not have done. So it would equal 5 over 10, which would equal 1/2 when reduced. And number 5, let's look at number 5. So 1/2 times 4/5, you can reduce. Well, if they didn't reduce, we could reduce this to 1 and this to 2, which would give us 1 times 2 over 1 times 5, which would give us 2/5. They got the answer right. The only thing they did not do is they did not cross simplify. So we could write that down, but they did get the answer correct. And if you do not cross simplify, you have to simplify at the end, which is what they had to do here with the 4/10. So let's go back up to number 6. It looks like 3/2 times 1/5, you cannot. Oh, look what they did. They multiplied 3 times 5 and 2 times 1. All of this is wrong. We do not cross multiply, okay? When you get into algebra and you learn proportions, we will do that. So what that should be is 3 over 2 times 1 over 5, multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3, 5 times 2 is 10, and that is a final answer. So let's look at number 7. 5 times 3 is 15, okay. 4 times 4 is not 4, it's 16. So here they did not multiply the denominators. So what they should have had is 15 over 16, and that would have been a final answer. And number 8. It looks like the same error is above. We have 10. Well, first of all, we can simplify, but they did 10 times 3, which is technically correct. Then they did not do 12 times 12. So they did not multiply the denominators. And also, they should have cross simplified to make this problem easier. Cross simplified. So what that would be is, let's rewrite it over here, 10 over 12, 10 twelfths times 3 twelfths. Now, change my color. We can, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 12 divided by 3 is 4. 10 and 12 are both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, 12 divided by 2 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5, 4 times 6 is 24, and that quickly and easily gets us to the final answer. Number 9. So we have 3 times 1, 8 times 2, 3/8 times 1/2. So 3 times 1, and this is a problem. 3 times 1 is not 4, it should be 3. 8 times 2 is 16th, so this is wrong. So what they did was, and what's this addition? So they added, which was incorrect, and should have multiplied 3 times 1 equals 3. So we would have 3 over 16 right here, and that would be our final answer. And then in the very last problem, if we have 4 6 times 6 6, we could cross simplify the two 6's and turn them into 1. So 4 times 1 is 4. That's correct. And then 1 times 6 should not be 1 times 1. It should be 1 times 6. So it should be 1 6. So this should be a 6, 4, 6. And then 4, 6 we can reduce to 2/3. So multiplication was incorrect. So let's go back and look at the exit ticket. So complete the steps for multiplying fractions. First, we want to cross simplify if possible. Second, we want to multiply straight across. And then third, we must simplify again if necessary. And those are the 3 steps to multiplying fractions. So I know that if you keep practicing, you're going to do a great job with this. You're going to work hard and you'll be great.